It was a day when the violence was supposed to stop, but it didn't. A powerful car bomb exploded in a southern district of Damascus. Civilians were killed and wounded. The warring sides blamed each other for the explosion. And they also accused one another of shattering a truce that was supposed to take effect early on Friday. The army and the rebels both said they were responding to attacks.
Our armed forces are addressing these violations, firing back at the origin of fires, resisting the armed terrorist groups and hunting down their remnants.
With no independent observers to monitor the truce, it is hard to confirm which side was responsible for breaking it. On Thursday, the Syrian army and some rebel groups accepted a proposal by peace envoy Lakhdar Brahimi to cease military operations during the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha. But even before agreeing to hold fire, both sides had attached conditions, a sign of their deep mistrust of one another.
A number of rebel forces have actually said, if we find that the Assad forces are rearming, we won't observe the ceasefire. And of course, on the Assad side, they've said the same thing, because the suspicion on both sides is that they will use this time to rearm, regroup, and get ready for the next round of violence, which I think everybody's expecting to come, unfortunately.
That could explain the fighting in strategic locations in Idlib province, especially around the Wadi Deif military barracks and Khan Sheikhoun, which is on a main highway and supply route for the army. Anti-Syrian government protesters returned to the streets, hoping the truce would allow them to hold peaceful demonstrations, but security forces shot at some of the protesters. The chants and the banners demonstrators carried showed the lack of trust they have in a government which they say made too many promises in the past only to break them. Brahimi hoped the truce would bring about dialogue between the government and the opposition, but protesters are not interested. They no longer want President Bashar al-Assad in power. He may not have been among a crowd, but the Syrian president's rare appearance at Eid al-Adha prayers in Damascus sends a message that he is still in charge. Too many lives have been lost on both sides of this conflict. During this holiday, it is tradition for families to visit their dead. The violence may have been less intense than usual, but more graves were dug on the first day of what was supposed to be a 4-day ceasefire. So far, the military solution to the conflict is not working. There is a military stalemate on the ground, but there doesn't seem to be a political solution either. It is proving to be difficult to get these two sides to actually sit down and talk. There's so much mistrust, and most observers, even Syrians themselves, are really worried that this conflict is heading towards a steady escalation.